Welcome back to the late day wrap up, of which we have plenty to discuss, with all major markets going to the fucking moon and beyond, it seems like right now. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest, and let's waste no more time getting into it right here, right now, after chopping up some chainsaws in good old Resident Evil, which is really fucking fun actually earlier. So starting off with Dixie as always, what do we see right here? So we did hit our $92.50 target just about, based off of the breakout from the macro low, which was in line with the measure move off of that formation as well. I'd say that's pretty much been hit 1-to-1 almost. Yeah, actually literally 92.5. Not bad. That TA fucking bullshit, it works every once in a while, but something that we've been looking at for about 3 months now finally coming to fruition is, you know, quite the thing to behold. But more importantly, what I would say about this is that it's very likely to have a prolonged pullback from that region. So while we did say a pullback was likely from that region, maybe even all the way back down about 91.5 or 92 bucks, of which we're kind of actually getting that right now, all the way down to about a below of 91.80ish region. I would be looking for this one too, if we go down to the lower term timeframes, trade a little bit lower here, maybe even get down to that $91.50-ish region, but ultimately, based off of the prior signatures that we have seen from a very similar formation from this, I would be looking for this one to give another try higher over time. Anytime we have seen a 3-month-long consolidation on the lows, marking off a macro low, alongside weekly bullish divergence as well, we have seen, well, prolonged upside movements. The last one coming in from this area right here, same sort of thing, bullish divergence off the lows, boom, 3 months in that nice little pocket, and then about the next few years, yeah, from 2018 all the way to 2020, actually, straight to the upside more or less. And same thing back on this macro low over here from 2011 to basically 2015, 2016, same shit right there as well. Same thing over here in 08, same thing over here in 95, and same thing over here in 90, and you already know this because I've been saying this for like the last fucking 3 months straight. But hey, you know, it's coming to fruition right now, or essentially it's come to fruition right now, so I would be looking for this one to try higher over time, more importantly, which will put downside pressure on price action for most assets that do trade against the dollar. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean that things are just going to blindly go down, and there's a really good question about this in the Discord earlier to Mr. Simply Gains. Shout out to Mr. Simply Gains from the missed days. Absolutely fucking love it. And actually, I want to give you a more chart-like interpretation of this right now, because your question was, have we ever seen Dixie or the dollar rally alongside well, traditional assets? Well, yes, of course we have actually. You can mark up this one right here from 2011 all the way to 2017 actually. And guess what? You know, you don't really need me to show you a chart for this, but if we go over here to Nasdaq, what was Nasdaq doing from those time frames from 2011 to 2017 or 2016, 2017? Well, you can see that it's just basically straight up alongside all major markets, more or less, which we can go into right now. So we can now go into Mr. SPY, start off with this one, of which you can also see for yourself that this one was also straight to the fucking moon and beyond. So yes, we can see those rally at the same time, because Dixie is measuring its value versus other a basket of fiat currencies around the world. Now, what I would say with that is the reason why I typically take an eye at Dixie is not necessarily because its implications with you know, the traditional asset we typically look at, or Bitcoin, for example, but because it's kind of like an all-encompassing, not an all-encompassing, but it's a very good insight into kind of like the general Forex land, of which, you know, I used to do these videos titled like the Forex Fortress, right? But I've kind of like stepped away from doing that in favor of doing, you know, more or less a broad overview of just general markets. So with that in mind, yeah, there you go. And moving on into the traditional indices, I want to follow up on not Nasdaq. Well, we will get to Nasdaq, but of course, started off with the strongest of the strong right now, which would be Dow Jones. And that one is making new all-time highs, as we said was likely earlier today. And guess what? Do we have new all-time highs right now? Yes, indeed we do. Nothing bearish about taking out yesterday and the day prior's high, alongside new all-time highs on top of that. Blue sky breakout in progress. And I'd say that this room really doesn't have any markers of petering out, at least anytime soon. Just putting another higher low right here. Hidden bullish divergence coming off the lows. Daily RSI getting back into the bullish control zone, also playing all of that out. Plus, hey, hello, welcome to the club, sir. I can't see you over there, but good to see you. Anyways, apologies for that. Anyways, daily momentum oscillator is also pointing north as well. So yes, I am essentially looking for this one to crawl its way onwards and upwards for the time being. Do I have any targets to the upside? Not really, because we don't really have any like major formations going on right here. The best I can do is Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, that needs to stop right now. But the best I can do for you is maybe something like this, of which we can take the last sort of consolidation low, the last consolidation range, and make an extension based off that, and just kind of plot up some natural areas of interest to the upside here, of which one of them would be the level that we are literally at right now at about 32,000 bucks, marking off the prior highs on this run. And then the next ones that are going to be very much relevant are the 414 at about 33,200 and the 618 at about 33,800-ish region. So I'd keep an eye on those ones. Those would be my next like long-term targets on this one. And I'm essentially just, I suppose, bullish here more or less. Anyways, moving on to Nasdaq futures. What do we see see right here, same sort of thing. So we did say in this morning's video and yesterday's video that based off of what we were seeing in Dow Jones and also SPY, very likely that Nasdaq does put in a major low right as well and works way back up to about 13,000 bucks. And well, predictions away, sirs. Sorry, I think I'm kind of I think I may be sounding a little bit more egregious than what I typically want to come off like, but you know, having a little bit of fun with it at the end of the day. Yes, that $13,000-ish region has been met, but what I would say more importantly right here is while I would be looking for maybe a short-term pullback off this region, maybe, you know, maybe short-term time frames do pull back a little bit, of which you could maybe even argue that we've already seen that, but you know, another short-term down to like 12.9 would not be out of the order. More importantly, based off the daily right here, the next big signal on this one would be this. If you see any sort of a daily closure above the 55 exponential average, which is guess what, where it is 13,000 bucks, I would extend this run significantly towards the 13,300 to 13,500ish region. Personally speaking, I think it's going to get there no matter either which way because of what we see in the broad market right now with Dow Jones, with SPY, as we'll look at soon enough, and with Russell as well. So this one being a little bit more of a laggard right now, or more better said, is being rotated, while the other two are kind of keeping the broad market up. So with that in mind, I would be looking for this one to kind of crawl its way upwards here too. We do see momentum oscillators are going to have a chance to point northwards alongside today's daily little closure, of which that would be playing out a trend line from all the way back downtown in December 2018 on all of these major lows. And on top of that, we do see that daily RSI playing out that same sort of hidden bullish divergence here, rejecting more importantly the bearish control zone and continuing onwards and upwards on expanding historic volatility percentile. All of those things are good and good with each other. So I would be looking for this run to continue, and very likely this was kind of like your last higher low. I mean, we basically hit the target to the downside. I was saying 12,150. We got down to 12,200. Close enough is close enough at that price point, and we can move on into SPY now, of which we did say 3930-ish region would be the target for this next sort of uppity up phase, of which we are pretty fucking close to that right now. A high on the day of 3911.5. I would extend this essentially to the prior all-time high at about 3950, and very likely does it make new all-time highs? Extremely likely, yes. We can make another sort of fib extension here too for some interesting algo targets to the upside, of which I'd be looking at 4,000, nice round even number as well. And then above there, I don't know which ones are going to be the big ones. Well, let's just look at 4,000 first. How about that? It's going to take its time, obviously. But you know, all things are looking more or less the same as what we see on the other charts. Hidden bullish divergence off the lows, back above the exponential, rejection of the bearish control zone. Daily momentum oscillator is also pointing northwards as well. I look at these things as more or less good and very likely to very likely to propel a continuation to the upside here. So all major indices kind of following through with each other of varying degrees of strength, and we can even look at Russell 2000 as well. I'm going to look at the symbol IWM. This one's basically retesting its prior all-time high. Extremely likely to make new all-time highs. Exact same oscillator perspective here as well. And this one represents the mid caps on the market. So we see all the market essentially moving together with each other, which is, well, good to put it bluntly. And that does bode well for Bitcoin, does bode well for just about everything within the market, as that is, well, that is just the market strength picking up and operating off of that sort of, idea that a rising tide lifts all ships. Anyways, moving on to gold, I believe we were looking for a bouncy bounce coming off the 1680-ish level this week. And are we getting a bouncy bounce right now? We are getting a bouncy bounce right now. Not bad. I did say a target on the first leg of this bounce at about 1730 to 1750. I think that we still haven't hit that just yet. I do still think that it will test back up there, and we see plenty of things that are suggesting a bit of an upside try here. You know, whether you're bullish or bearish on gold, I would be looking for a bounce here, regardless of the fact. Now, of course, there is issues with the daily with the daily death cross going right around here, and that will obviously be holding in place as long as gold is below, especially the 200 exponential average, but even the 55 as well, or well, especially the 55, but even the 200 as well, and that's all the way above 1800 right now as well. So, with all of that in mind, I do think that gold's in more or less of bouncy posturing. Probably in the next month or two, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing test back up somewhere around 1750 to, or well, very likely above 1750, probably more like around 1800-ish region. And then we get to play the game of, is this just a, is this another lower high before further continuation to the downside, or is this one massive handle on a multi-year, not just multi-year, but like a decade-long potential cup and handle here? It could be. I mean, it very well could be, as long as you don't see any sort of a weekly closure below, like, let's say 1650-ish region. I'd say that that's definitely possible. Pretty much the area that it's bouncing off of right now, I'd say, on a closing basis, that is. But But, you know, again, first things first, I'd want to see this bounce play out probably over the next few weeks, and then we'll come back later and decide, okay, is this the next like major short opportunity or not? And with that said, we can move on into Bitcoin now, of which let's go see what Bitcoin's doing. So it looks like I'm going to be wrong in this morning's video as far as the short-term timeframes go, but that's why I do have the higher-term timeframe more or less focus. And I don't know, maybe that's just a silly way of saying, look, higher-term timeframes taking over right now. Obviously, all of the bullish things that we're seeing on the higher-term timeframes, that's going to matter a lot fucking more than what we see on like a 2-hour chart, for example. And while we did get a pullback, you know, around the time that we were doing that video, that was not really, I mean, never really going to be anything too consequential, as the main disposition was Bitcoin's essentially bullish in all time frames as long as it's above 51,500 pivot, of which we were very much above that pivot around the 2-spot extension right there. So with that said, obviously breaking above the range highs once again, I'd say this is very indicative that Bitcoin is going to test the prior all-time high and very likely make new all-time highs in line with what we see in traditional markets as well. And of course, I do want to remind myself of all of the good and potentially, well, not potentially, but bullish things going on on our secondary charts right here, which was the big focus of this morning's video as well as yesterday's and the day before that. And that would be this. We have daily DMX ADI signal giving a bullish signal right here. DMI plus is dominant. ADX is strengthening as well. We also do see daily MACD getting the bullish cross alongside a break above the 20-cent moving average on this, which does have a positive slope as well. Both very good. On top of that, we do see that we even have hidden bullish evidence on this as well between the $30,000 low and the $45,000 low right here. And on top of that, we do see that we even have hidden bullish evidence on weekly RSI right here as well, which I would say is more or less confirmed by taking out last week's high, which happened right above about 52,600-ish region on Mexico. So with all of that said, I mean, I look at this as more or less likely to continue. We also do have that nice interpretation, with what we've been calling out about the 55 exponential average right here in the bottom side trolling band, of which that did give it the bullish signal not today, but yesterday on closure. And anytime we have gone that whilst also getting above the 20 simple, that has been your next continuation phase drive. So I'm talking about this area right here, gets a bullish cross, boom, back above, massive, off to the races. Same thing over here, bearish cross, boom, test, boom, bullish cross, off to the fucking races above the 20. Same thing over here, bearish cross, test, actually shoots through, but gets a bullish cross, tells you to reaccumulate that, and off to the fucking races after that. And then several examples before that in 2018 and 2019, which I won't go through right now. Shout out to Punklandia and Mr. Gravy Grits for calling that one out, because that's actually been pretty fucking interesting here. While it's not necessarily something that I've ever really even looked at too much myself, but that is the lovely thing about having community where people are looking at a whole different bunch of things, you know, kind of using the same sort of smorgasbord of of ideology and tools, and we can come up with cool stuff like that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And more importantly, it comes together confluently to create a bigger picture overall. So really awesome stuff right there. And I'm essentially just bullish on all higher term timeframes, of which also should remind myself, remember when we did open up this monthly, the accumulation distribution indicator did have a massive positive slope. And also I should denote this. So the monthly troll underbands, of which that was giving me the potential bearish case for the downside to 45,000 bucks or 40,000 bucks even, that is naturally going to be averted by Bitcoin getting green as hell here. And you can already see that it's crawled up to 43,300, with Bitcoin only being at just above 56,000 bucks right now. So I imagine at around 58,000 to 60,000 bucks, we actually will see the bottom side troll underband the top side troll underband meet up with the bottom side of this monthly dildo, which will satisfy that condition, not necessarily in the way that I was presumably thinking at the beginning, but that is why, you know, we discussed two ways that can happen. It looks like we're gonna have the more bullish way of that happening. So at the end of the day, you know, all things look good on the higher term timeframes. Lower term timeframes, you know, things are very much extended here. They are very much frothy, but don't underestimate, you know, what things can do in a trending motion. And for this particular phase right here, I don't really care too much about my Stokes, because they just get fucking, you know, too critical, too crazy. And a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, oh my god, they're in the critical zone, short it. No. When you're in a breakout, which the breakout happened above 51,500 pivot right here, as we discussed a couple days ago, I look for the RSI to actually give the trending momentum and discuss the actual strength of trend. And in this case, you can see that this is actually very healthy, very constructive for the last week or so, going back to, 3 weeks going back to middle of February. And then more importantly, I'd be looking for this one to try higher over time. I'm not really looking for even like a medium term or short term pullback for that matter until we get bearish divergence on this. And as it is right now, it's just continuation. So maybe a short term pullback based off around the prior all-time high at about 58,000 bucks, or a little bit above 58,000 bucks. And then I'd be looking for further continuation as the higher term timeframes take over. Of course, same targets to the upside as we've been having for quite some time now. I'd have an area of interest right around about 62,000 bucks, but that's only going to be relevant for a short term. Ultimately, based off the pattern right here, of which we do see what is essentially making a cup and handle, very, very likely to be a cup and handle, to be honest with you. It's not necessarily in there just yet, but that actually would have a measure move all the way up to about 68 to 69,000 bucks. That's also around the 3.618. So I do like the confluence right around there, and that potentially could be, the next major, the next bigger pullback, so to speak. But for now, I'm just basically bullish on all time frames, and there you go. What would be concerning on the other side of things? Of course, it'd be the same things, that were relevant on the way up that will be relevant on the way down. And first and foremost, that's going to be the same sort of base scenario that we saw right around the 2.272 extension, right around 54,000 bucks. So essentially, as long as Bitcoin's above that level right there, I'm bullish on all time frames. Any sort of short-term pullbacks likely just end up being that short-term pullbacks. No sort of bias changes on any time frame as long as above 54,000 bucks essentially, or 54,400 if you want to be super exact. Below 51,500, I would have actually medium-term time frame concerns and look for another $3,000 move to the downside. But again, very far away right now, but I think that it is important to discuss. Anyways, with that said, I do want to wish you the best once again. Take care, and until next time.